Yo, I'm making a catfish stew dish today. It's a hearty, soulful dish, but it's got a lot, a lot of flavor thanks to some interesting combinations. So stick around and hear about the dish so you can see how it comes together and you can see why the flavor is so deep and so on point. I start by making a really nice broth using the shells from some fresh shrimp. You can use the shrimp for other dishes or add them to the catfish stew if you want later. But I take those shells, parade them in water, and then strain them so I just have the liquid remaining. And then I'm adding some additional water just to kind of increase the volume for the smoked ham hocks that I'm gonna add. So I got some smoked pork ham hocks married with some shrimp stock, plus bay leaves, some fresh thyme, and then some fish sauce. I told you it's gonna be interesting, right? Got a lot of different flavor combinations working here, things that you don't normally think to put together, but we're gonna work it out if you stay with me, right? So salt and pepper, garlic to round things out. Then I'm just gonna simmer these ingredients in my saucepan. Basically, I want to simmer them long enough to allow the ham hocks to become a little more tender because I'm gonna cut them up. I'm gonna dice them up and add them back into the stew later. But I got that smoky flavor into the stock and I got them cooked and tender so that I can add them in later. So now I'm gonna prep my catfish. I wanna make these blackened catfish, and so I'm using some melted butter that I'm just gonna brush on one side. I'm only going to blacken one side completely. And so to make the spices really stick to the fish, I use the butter. My seasoning is basically like your Creole blackening mix. So think cayenne, paprika, salt and pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. That's kind of like the basis for your blackening spice. I got a cast iron skillet that got really hot, and I'm gonna use butter to cook the fish in, right? So it's smoking hot. I add the fish, season side down, and then cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes till I got a nice black exterior. I'm flipping it over just long enough to kind of, so you can see the color, and also just to kind of get a little more cook time, but not much at all. Size of like how you cut the fish is really up to you. I prefer bigger pieces because I want like each spoonful to kind of have a hearty, nice piece, chunk of fish for each bite. But if you prefer smaller, definitely chop them up into smaller pieces if you will. Next, I'm gonna char my okra for 2 reasons. One, I wanna get rid of the slime. And 2, charring adds an additional element of flavor. So I'm cooking it in a hot pan with no oil. Remove it, set it to the side, and then I'm gonna start working on the rest of the stew. I got my holy trinity, onions, celery, and a mix of bell peppers. Plus I'm adding some garlic in there, and then more of that Creole seasoning spice. I'm gonna let it just kind of saute for about a minute, and then add the black eyed peas. I'm toasting the black eyed peas because I wanna release that flavor, get a little more intense pea flavor in there, black eyed pea flavor that is. And then I will add my prepared stock to the dish. Again, I told you it's gonna be interesting. I got some shrimp paste, which is kind of a Asian thing, plus some Caribbean green seasoning. This is gonna add to the base of flavor along with that those fire roasted tomatoes and the ham hocks that I added back in. I season as I go, so that got that layered effect, and so you see me continue to add the spices. I've let this stew cook for about 30 minutes before I started adding that okra back. I want that okra to maintain that crunchy texture, so I'm adding it into like the last part of the cooking along with the fish. Both pretty delicate, don't need much cooking time, maybe 2 to 3 minutes max in terms of when you add that fish back to the dish. It's a delicate ingredient, so you don't need a lot of time for it. But you want to cook it long enough to get that catfish flavor into the pot to go along with all the rest of the great things that we have going on with all those different flavor ingredients that you've seen. And so for me, I got the aroma, my kitchen smells great. I got the texture with all the different contrasts from the okra and the delicate fish. The peas have a little snap to it. I use canned peas, by the way. Didn't use fresh. Canned works perfectly fine. Keep the cooking time down. Just make sure you just rinse those before you add them to the cooking dish. I serve these up with rice, if you want to serve it over rice, or just simply have some some cornbread on hand, hot water cornbread or regular cornbread. I did have either one of those. I'm kind of mad about that, so I used some bread to kind of sop up some of that sop, some of the broth at the end. And that's the dish, right? So if you're feeling it, let me know what you think. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Most importantly, hit the red subscribe button, and you'll get updates weekly when I add new posts directly to your inbox. That's it. Dig the dish. Peace out. See you next week.